Hello and welcome to today's class. My name is Nicole and it's wonderful to see you again. Today's class is going to be focused on the low back of the body. So this is a really wonderful practice if you are someone who sits down at your computer a lot, has been in a seated or reclined position for an extended amount of time. Maybe you were sick, not feeling super well, and looking to kind of ease back into practice, starting with a really beautiful low back stretch, then this is the practice for you. I created this practice because I was actually not feeling super well this past week, and I was really feeling it in my low back after laying down for a long period of time, and just found that I really needed to stretch and release all that tension in that low back, because once we unlock one part of the body, that leads to another part. So we unlock the hips, you know what I mean? Or maybe we unlock the mid-spine. So we're kind of taking it one step at a time. The intention for today is really just to, one, open that back, and then two, also be able to imagine releasing and opening other areas of the body that the low back really supports. All right, so grab your blocks if you'd like to use them for today's practice. It's going to take about 25 minutes at most, and we will get into it totally seated, very beginner friendly. So we're going to start in our easy pose, and I'm actually going to turn to face the long edge of my mat just so you can see the next pose a little bit better. But easy pose, nice ankles on top of the other, hands on top of the knees, nice seated tall back as always. If you are someone who rounds a little bit more in the shoulders and kind of caves into the chest a little bit, I'll invite you to pull the chest forward, imagining someone pulling it with a string, and that will engage the scapulas just a little bit to pull together, kind of like this motion. So imagine the scapulas are open, and when they close, they just pull a little bit closer together. Deep, deep breaths here. Very good. We're going to imagine sending a nice big inhale up through the spine, starting from the lumbar, bringing with it any tightness or tension, and then on the exhale, releasing it. Very good. We're going to do 2 more breaths. So again, inhaling and taking with that inhale anything that doesn't serve you any longer, anything you'd like to release, maybe taking it to a more mental state, and exhaling, releasing it. We don't need it in today's practice. 1 more inhale, and on this inhale we'll release any obligation, any pressures or stress that we're under, and as we exhale, we release it, at least for now. All right, so first stretch, we're going to take the hands and we're going to place them behind the back. In releasing the fingers, you can put one thumb on top of the other, it doesn't matter which, we'll do both, and you can pull the scapulas together. Okay, if this is a little bit difficult for you, I'll invite you to place the hands maybe on the lumbar spine and still again pull those scapulas together, or you can have the hands floating away from the sit bone and kind of pulling those shoulders back. If you have your fingers interlaced, you're just going to pull those hands away from the spine as you gently gaze up. We don't want any neck crunching here. Holding here, 2 deep breaths. And as you exhale, the shoulders fall down and away from the ears. 1 more inhale. Very good. You can inhale, release the hands, bring them back together, this time bringing the opposite thumb on top, which may feel a little funny at first. So again, however way you did it the first time, we're going to do the second time. Big, big inhale as you bring those hands away from the tailbone, away from the spine. Big breath. Exhale. Shoulders fall. Good. 1 last time. Very good. Inhaling to open, to release. Take some neck rolls here. Just in case, again, you've been seated for a while, give the neck just a little bit of love. Do 2 going one way, 2 the opposite. And then after those neck rolls, inhale, lift the hands right up to the sky. Right hand comes down to the left knee, left hand comes behind towards the bottom of the mat. As you gaze up and over your left shoulder, 3 deep breaths here. Imagine lifting and lengthening through that spine. And remind yourself you're here to release. Very good. Inhaling, coming back up to the middle. As we exhale, we do the opposite side. So left hand on right knee, right hand comes to the back of the mat. Looking over that right shoulder. If able, you can always take a block as well. Place it right under that right hand for 3 deep breaths. Very good. Inhaling, coming back to center, lifting those hands straight back up again. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of a hug here. So we're going to bring our arms out directly in front of us, pointing towards the top of the mat. The right hand is going to grab the left shoulder, and the left hand is going to grab the right shoulder. Now notice whichever elbow's on top. For me, my right elbow is on top. And you're just going to bring your hands as close to those scapulas, as close to touching as you can manage. And from here, we're going to sit up nice and tall, again, engaging those scapulas. And then we're just going to breathe as we swing back and forth. We're not moving the hips so much as we're moving that low to mid spine, a little bit of the upper spine, back and forth. Breathe. You can go as slow or as fast as you like, whatever feels good. You could even pull over to one side, hold for a breath. And switch. Good, good. Inhale, release. Hands come out wide. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to bring the opposite elbow on top. So same this time. You just control which arm goes where first. It's basically how you determine the left arm going above. All right, so from here, nice and tall, reach, 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 grab as close as the fingers can, and swish. And again, 3 deep breaths here. Whatever pace is good for you, keep breathing. Notice which side of the back you really feel that in. So is the right side a little bit tighter than the left? You know, just kind of make a mental note of it. No judgment. Just make a point of it so you know which side maybe needs some time and a stretch a little bit longer, so on and so forth. Inhale, release. Shake the shoulders out a little bit. 3 shoulder rolls going backwards, and then 3 going forwards. Hands come to the knees. Very good. So from here, we're going to bring the hands behind the sit bone as we start to lean back here. And once we're kind of in this lean here, what we're going to do is, instead of letting the chest kind of fall into itself, we're going to inhale and imagine again that string pulling our chest up. And as the chest comes up, we gaze with a nice straight neck in line with the spine up towards the ceiling, holding 3 deep breaths. One more big, beautiful breath. Very good. You can come back down, walk those hands right back into the sit bone, right onto the knees, and then bring the hands forward, come up onto the knees, and bring yourself into a tabletop position. So for this table, shoulders over the elbows, over the wrist, hips over the knees, and feet are directly back untucked behind us. If you'd like a little bit more length or support in this pose, option to take some blocks, place them under your hands. We're going to take cat-cow. So, dropping the belly, lifting the gaze, big, beautiful breath in. Exhale as you round, contract, pushing the mat away from you, tucking that chin into the chest, pulling the tailbone in, and inhale. Drop the belly, lift the gaze. Very good. Exhale, round, contract. We're going to do 3 more total. At whatever pace you want. Always an option to play here, so maybe you make some circles with the body. Maybe you lean a little bit back, and then as you come into that cat, you press a little bit forward. Really make it your own. Do whatever feels good here. Last one. And exhale, round, and contract. Very good. Leaning back into a neutral tabletop. Let's thread some needles. It's crochet. On the inhale, we're going to lift the right arm up, gazing up at that right arm, and on the exhale, we're going to gently lower that arm through and under the left. Left hand reaches all the way up to the top of the mat as the head rests on the mat, holding here 3 deep breaths. The knees and feet stay exactly as they were in that tabletop. Inhale, bringing that left hand right back to its first position. Pressing up to the mat to return to tabletop, we're going to switch sides. Left hand up on inhale. Exhale, thread it under the right. Right hand comes up to the top of the mat. Lay the head down, 3 breaths. Inhale, bringing that right hand back to neutral. Pressing up to come to our tabletop. We're going to transition into our first downward dog of the day. So bringing the hands out at about a 45-degree angle right in front of us. Tucking the toes, lifting the hips straight up and back as if someone's pulling the tailbone up again with a string at the hips. If the heels don't touch the ground at this moment, it's okay. The head is glancing down towards the toes, all right? Hands are nice and firm, gripped into the mat. And we're going to hold this neutral down dog as we pull the chest towards the legs. 2 deep breaths to start. Very good. Amazing. On the next inhale, bend the right knee. Left leg stays straight, holding 1 deep breath. Good. Switch sides on the inhale. Very well done. Coming straight back to our downward facing dog, we're going to transition into plank, doing a bit of a slower, more controlled chaturanga. So we are going to inhale, shift the head forward between the hands, bringing that pelvis straight in line with the spine, pressing into the heels and pushing away from the mat. Shoulders are engaged here, plank pose. On the exhale, we're going to bend at the elbows as we come down with slow, controlled movements to press the body onto the mat, untucking the toes. On the inhale, we push up from the chest and lift here. Come into cobra. We're going to hold in cobra. 3 deep breaths. Option to bend at the arms here. You don't want to be up straight. It's a little bit much for the back. You can always take a little bit of a bend to control where the spine sits and how much of a bend you have in this pose. Very good. After those deep breaths, we're going to come back all the way down and slide the hands forward so the forearms are on the mat. Once there, you're just going to lift through the chest, Sphinx pose. So we're going to hold another 3 breaths here. We're going to get ready to do a little bit of ab work. If we strengthen the low back, we strengthen the core, vice versa. It kind of involves some similar movements. So we're doing mostly stretching, but we're also strengthening as well. So 1 more breath here. Before we lay the head down on the exhale to the mat, bringing the hands behind us onto the mat with palms facing the ceiling, okay? So once we're here, on the next inhale, we're going to lift through the abdomen, lift through the low back, bring the feet to hover, the hands to hover, and the head to hover. So the only thing that's going to be on the mat is about the pelvis, the upper thigh, and the abs. All right, so on 3, we inhale to come up. So 1, 2, 3, lift, holding here, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, lift a little higher, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Exhale, come all the way down. Very good. We're going to do that one last time, and I'm going to offer you a more advanced variation. You do not have to take it. You're always more than welcome to try to challenge yourself, see where you're at, but you don't have to take it, okay? So, on the inhale, if you'd like a little bit more of a challenge here in this bow pose, you can inhale, lift up. Exhale, reach the knees, or bend the knees, bringing the feet all the way up towards the sit bone. Reach back, grab at the ankles of the feet, whatever you can manage, and then lift. holding there for the 10 seconds, or you can hold just lifting with those feet straight back, arms up forward. This is just a variation. 5, 4, lift the chest up a little more, 3, 2, and 1. Exhale, come down, lower everything. This time one hand goes on top of the other in front of the head, and you place the head on the exhale right on that forearm. And you breathe here for 5 deep breaths. Take a bit of a pause, check in with the body, see how you feel, see how the low back feels. 2 more breaths. Very good. From here, we're going to work backwards from what we did earlier. So we're going to bring our forearms to frame the chest, and then lift the chest up and come to Sphinx, hanging out in that Sphinx pose for 3 deep breaths. If you'd like to take a variation here, you can look over the right shoulder, and you'll get deeper stretch in that left side. So if you'd like, holding 2 deep breaths with that looking over the shoulder variation. And then inhaling to come forward, exhaling to glance over the opposite arm, opposite shoulder. Making sure we're pressing the tops of the feet into the mat. Very good. Inhale, come back to center. Lower yourself to the ground as you bring the hands to frame the chest, and then inhale, push up. Holding here in this cobra, 3 deep breaths. Notice if you're able to bend a little bit more now or come into it a little bit deeper now. Very good. Exhale, come back down all the way to the mat. And from here, tuck the toes, lift the chest, lift the hips, downward facing dog. We're not going to stay here. We're just going to take a little chaturanga, a little flow, a little bit faster than we did the first time. So inhale, bring the body forward into that plank pose. Exhale all the way down to the mat, untuck the toes. Lift up, cobra once more. Exhale, coming back down to the mat, tucking the toes, lifting the hips. Gently exhale, bring the knees to the width of the mat. Big toes touch, wild child's pose. If wild child's pose is a little bit too much on the hips, you're more than welcome to bring the knees together. Send the hips back. Keep the hands forward. Rest the head on the mat. And hold whichever variation of child's pose you choose. 3 deep breaths. Coming back to your intention to release that low back, to relieve tension, to open up areas that the low back supports. And acknowledging yourself for showing up to do that work today, work that no one else can do for you. And saying thank you to your body for showing up, regardless of how tight it may feel, and trying. One last breath. Very good. Stretching those hands forward, if they weren't already, to come up, shifting the body up. We're going to meet back in our tabletop pose. From here, we're going to bring the knees out just a little bit wider, not necessarily to the width of the mat, but a little bit wider. Right hand, right forearm, is going to come onto the mat. I do diagonally in front of me. I think it gives me a little bit more stability. You can do whatever you want here. Left hand is going to come shoot up and hold the spinal twist here, 3 deep breaths. You're going to exhale, bring that hand down. Left hand comes onto the mat. Right hand shoots up, switch sides. Holding again for 3 deep breaths. Very good. Exhale. Bring that hand down. Lower your sit bones onto the mat, and we're going to flip over to come onto our backs. You're going to keep your knees or your feet on the mat, and you're going to grab a block if you'd like. I'll show you why as you gently with control lower onto the mat. With your back, again, keeping the feet on the mat so the knees are up and pointed towards the ceiling. So you have a couple options here. We're going to come into a bridge pose. So for this bridge pose, you can choose. You can either keep hands framing the sit bone, framing the hips, with your feet pulled in just a little bit towards the leg. Once you're here, you're going to inhale, lift. Imagine that string is back, pulling your pelvis up and towards the ceiling, holding and engaging here in this bridge pose for 3 deep breaths. Option here to bring your block, place it directly under the hips, rest, 3 deep breaths. Whichever variation you choose, breathe here. Keeping the knees from going out and wide, you want to keep them in line with the hip. Come up a little bit higher for the last one. And exhale, lower all that down to the mat. Pressing the low back into the mat. Bring the knees together to touch. And then inhale, allow them to open out to either side. Now again, if this is a little bit much for your hips, invitation to take a block, place it under one knee, place it under another knee. That way you have something supporting those legs. This stretch is a little too deep. Otherwise, we're going to hang out in this reclined pose. Reclined butterfly, 3 breaths. Very good. Inhale and bring those legs back in. From here, bring the feet up off the mat, knees come in. Option here to bring the legs up. Using the hands, you're more than welcome to hold the back of the knee if you'd like, bringing yourself up off the mat, or you can leave your head on the mat. Totally up to you and what you're more comfortable doing. You can also place the hands on the mat and keep these legs up, okay? On the inhale, we're going to open those legs up just a little bit, not so much. And then hands are going to come up. We're going to reach, try to grab at our toes or our ankles or legs, whatever we can grab, lifting off ever so slightly from the mat. One more breath here. You can also use a strap here. That helps a little bit. Exhaling to close the legs together as you bend the knees, lowering yourself onto the mat, and then bring the knees into the armpits. Come into the happy baby. 3 deep breaths. You can rock back and forth here as well. Get a little back massage. 2 more breaths. Have fun with this. Allow yourself to play. And then after those breaths, release the hold from the hands. Place the feet on the mat so the knees are once again bent. Right knee is going to come, or right leg is going to come over the left. You're going to straighten that left leg and let the right knee come over to the right side. Again, you can come onto a block if this is a little much. As the left hand comes out to the left side and you look over your left shoulder. You can use your right hand to press that knee down and towards the floor if you'd like, keeping a slight bend in that left leg. 3 deep breaths. Very good. Inhaling to come up, releasing the twist, and switching sides. So this time the left knee comes over the right, drop it down to the floor. Right hand comes out to the right side. Again, you can use that left hand to press that knee down if you'd like. 3 more breaths. Very good. Inhaling to come back to center. Letting the legs fall down towards the bottom of the mat. Hands come to the side, pressing that low back into the mat. Or if you want take a little bit of stress off that low back, the feet can come into the width of the mat, and the knees can fall into each other. Now as you lay here, I want you to imagine how the spine feels right now. So really imagine just looking forward at it. How does it feel now versus how it felt when you started? How does the left side of your low back feel to the right? Was there some tension that you noticed come about from the hips or from the mid-spine? Do you feel that you released that tension throughout this practice? As again, your eyes are closed, the jaw is not clenched, it is loose, so if anything, you can open the mouth slightly here. And imagine if there is still any tension that you are willingly holding on to. So if the eyes are squeezed shut, I'll invite you to gently release them. If the jaw again is clenched, gently allow your mouth to open ever so slightly. Coming all the way down the body, the abs are clenched, release, let them be. If the hands are fists, open the hands. Let them face the ceiling, be open to receiving. Going all the way down the body. If the feet are clenched and hips, again, release, let it go, and just be. Imagine yourself doing a full body scan, starting from your head to your toes, just releasing as you go down each inch of your body, not willingly holding on to anything. And for the next moment, we are free of obligations, expectations, judgments, and tension. So just be as you breathe here, and I will let you know when it's time to come up. Gently begin to bring consciousness back to the body. You can move the head to the left, to the right. Ever so slightly, you can gently blink the eyes a couple times. Move the mouth maybe. Smile very gently. Wiggle fingers, wiggle toes. And as you're ready, you can roll over onto one side using your hands pressing up to sit in whatever position is comfortable for you. We will close today's practice by inhaling, lifting hands up overhead, and in between our hands, holding everything that we gave ourselves today, every bit of tension release, every bit of freedom from judgment or obligations. And as we close our hands together, we imagine all of that between our hands. As we exhale, we lower all of it down to our physical body, to our heart center, where it never leaves. Bowing forward, namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to guide you through this low back release. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and go through it with ease. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.